Hey guys, usually at the beginning of each episode, I say to you, welcome back to the Prosta English podcast. But today, those words are actually for me. Welcome back, Nika, to the Prosta English podcast. Recently, I took a spontaneous break from recording new episodes. This all happened because of my trip to Belarus. Usually, I go to Belarus 2 or 3 times a year, and I stay there for a bit more than a week. But this time I ended up staying at my parents' place for 3 weeks. Of course, if I had known, I would have brought my microphone to record a new episode for you there, but my extended stay was unplanned, and I even had to change my tickets to get back to Poland a little later than I had expected. But now I'm back in Gdańsk, I'm back on track, and I promise to upload new episodes regularly. In today's episode, I want to tell you more about my time in Belarus, what I did there, and why I ended up staying so long. So let's get started. The main reason I went home this time was a medical checkup. I think all immigrants now are smiling because they understand me. In Poland, for example, medical healthcare is much more expensive, and also it's harder to find doctors who you can rely on and who are not indifferent. At the same time, in Belarus, I have family doctors who I can trust, and I don't have to wait weeks for an appointment. The main specialists I saw there were a dentist and a gynecologist. To be honest, I was lucky to be in Belarus at that time because my gynecologist found a health issue. And basically, that's why I had to stay longer. First of all, to treat it, and then to go back for a few ultrasounds to make sure everything was fine. But I'm really glad we caught it in time, and thanks to that, we prevented some serious health problems in the future. But after this experience, I want to kindly remind to all girls and women to visit their gynecologist at least once every 6 months, and also to get a blood test every year to monitor their health. But okay, that's enough about health. I feel like I'm a grandma when I'm talking about doctors and pills. So now let me tell you about some of the fun things I did while I was in Belarus. One of the greatest activities was a meetup with my students. You know that I've been teaching English for more than 6 years now, and during this time, my team and I have helped more than 900 people fall in love with English and start speaking fluently. As the result, our students got promotions, found their dream jobs, and even relocated abroad. Now, when they travel, they feel much more confident, and they can solve any problems and also communicate with locals. And in addition to that, they've started watching movies and shows in their regional language and also reading books in their regional language. And some of them are freelancers, and with a good level of English, they've started working with clients from English speaking countries. And every time I get messages from students sharing their achievements, I feel over the moon. I feel like my team and I are doing something meaningful, really changing people's lives and making the world a little better. But the problem is that I usually communicate with my students online because all of them live all over the world in different countries, like from the USA to Belarus, from Poland to Kazakhstan. And at certain point, I stopped seeing them as real people. To me, they became just, virtual, like they only existed behind the screen, somewhere online, somewhere only on the internet. So when I traveled to Belarus, I thought, I have to. I have to organize a meetup with our students to meet them in real life and to see them in person. At first, I was just planning a small gathering at a cafe, but after I sent a message to the Telegram channels of our courses and more than 13 people joined the chat, I realized I wanted to make it something special and memorable for all of us. And one of my students suggested meeting at an art studio. We could book the studio for 4 hours. The first 2 hours would be for a painting session with a professional artist, and the next 2 hours would be for snacks, chatting, and tea. And I loved the idea, and we booked the studio right away. But to be honest, I was really nervous before the meetup. As I mentioned earlier, I'm used to communicating with my students online. It's like my comfort zone now. But offline feels so different. I was worried that people might not get along because they were all from different courses and they didn't know each other. And I also was afraid that someone might, I don't know, feel bored, for example, or the conversation might not flow smoothly. But in the end, it was amazing. It went much better than I could have imagined. And when I arrived, some of the girls were already there waiting for me in the studio. And right away, we started hugging and smiling. And of course, my anxiety was replaced with excitement. Actually, at the meetup, there were a couple of surprises for me. One of them is the following: one of the girls had traveled 4 hours by train from another country just to join us in Minsk. So, Polina, if you are listening to this episode, I'd like to thank you one more time for finding an opportunity to come. It truly means the world to me. Polina told me that she first found me through this podcast, and only then she followed my blog on Instagram. And after some time, she joined a course. So soon she's going to relocate to a new country, so speaking English is a must for her. She shared that thanks to the course, she's no longer afraid of speaking and making mistakes. Instead, she has become much more confident and she can discuss absolutely different topics in English. The second surprise was a gift from one of my students. Her name is Yana. She listens to every episode of my podcast too, and she knows that I adore cute things for home and lovely self care products. So she brought me a big bag filled with tea, body scrub, bath salt, a candle that smells like an apple pie, a face mask, and a bar of soap. So let's get back to our meetup. When we finished painting, we stayed at the studio to chat and to get to know each other. And girls shared their stories, what they do, and why they are learning English. And many of them said that with the help of our courses, English has become a real hobby for them. At one point, I started laughing and I said, "You don't need to say that just because I'm here." But they assured me that it's really true. They've fallen in love with English because they see the results of their work and it keeps them motivated. So, once again, I want to thank the girls I met in Minsk because this warm, cozy meetup has inspired me to organize more gatherings with students in different cities and countries. So, stay tuned and keep an eye on our course chats. The next thing I did in Belarus was shopping. In general, I don't like buying clothes. Every time I go to a shop, I get confused about what I need to look at, what is stylish and what is not, and what colors suit me, and etc. But when I come home, we always go shopping with my mom, and she can recommend me some unusual clothes that I wouldn't even notice myself. And this process becomes much more enjoyable for me. This time, I bought 2 sweaters, a casual sports suit in a trendy burgundy color, trousers, a pair of leather shoes, and two pairs of warm winter sneakers in different colors. In addition to that, I also love some Belarusian brands of homeware. I always buy socks, underwear, tights, and pajamas there, and of course, this time was no exception. When I was at home, YouTube recommended me some videos where girls tested Belarusian decorative cosmetics. They praised its quality and also price because it's much cheaper than well known global brands, but at the same time, it looks great and lasts a long time on the skin. So I bought liquid eyeshadow, a brow pencil, brown mascara, blush, highlighter, powder, and a lip liner. Now, when I get up at 7:30 and my classes start at 8 a.m. in the morning, thanks to this cosmetics, I shine, my face looks fresher, and students do not notice that I woke up just 30 minutes ago. The next must buy items for me in Belarus are books. Even though I have an ebook, and I can download any book I want for free online. Every time I come home, I buy at least one paper book. I don't know, sometimes it's enjoyable to hold a paper book in your hands and also to turn the pages and to have the opportunity to highlight something with a pen. But in general, I can say that an ebook is much more convenient for me. It's just much lighter and you can lie down and hold it just with one hand, which is actually impossible with paper books. And you can read it in the dark room without keeping the light on. And you can also put it in a bag of any size and bring it with you to a cafe, for example. While we are talking about ebooks, let me give you a piece of advice. So, if you don't have an ebook right now, but you love reading, I would highly recommend adding an ebook to your New Year or Christmas wish list. You will receive a great present, and your relatives will not waste time and energy thinking about what to buy for you. The last thing I always buy in Belarus is jewelry. There is a girl who lives in my hometown, and she makes necklaces, earrings, and bracelets by hand. And I've already noticed that every time I wear her jewelry, someone always pays me a compliment because it really looks unique and unusual. And even though it's more expensive than mass market jewelry, I'm ready to pay more to support a small business. I understand that now it's quite difficult for small local stores to compete with global brands and online platforms, but when a person loves what they sell, carefully selects each items, chooses packaging, and adds some small gifts to each purchase to impress clients, for me, that's really valuable and I'll keep coming back again and again. In addition to medical checkups and shopping, in Belarus, I spent a lot of time with my family members. Every day, I was getting up at 8 a.m., even when I didn't need to wake up so early, just to have breakfast with my parents before they go to work. My mom almost every day cooked cottage cheese pancakes for me, which in Russian are called serniki. And after 2 weeks, she asked me, "Aren't you fed up with eating serniki every morning?" But my answer was no. In Poland, I never cooked serniki for myself. For me, this dish is associated with my mom, her care, and time spent at home. So every morning I ate serniki and I felt on cloud nine. On the weekends, my mom and I would go to an ice palace to ice skate. This is also one of the activities that unites us. All my life, Starting from early childhood, my mom and I went ice skating every single week in winter. And later, when my brother turned 5, we brought him to ice skate with us as well. And I remember how exhausted my mom and I were the first few times my brother tried to skate, just because he couldn't stand properly and he was always falling, and we had to hold him the whole time. But in the end, it paid off, and my brother became a professional ice hockey player. He had been playing ice hockey for 12 years before he seriously got injured, but during that time, hockey became the main sports for our family. My parents went to every single match of my brother's team. They also played all around Belarus to support him in other cities. Now, my brother doesn't play anymore because it took him, unfortunately, too long to recover after the injury. But anyway, he got a bachelor's degree as an ice hockey coach in Prague, in Czech Republic, and now he works as a coach for kids. But now, anyway, my parents still keep going to all ice hockey matches in our city to support a local adult team. So this time, when I came home, of course, I couldn't help but go to an ice hockey game with my dad, and it was so cool. But at the beginning, when we only arrived, I couldn't concentrate on the game. I got too emotional and too overwhelmed by memories because I recalled the moments from my school days when we went to my brother's games with my grandmas and the grandpa, and we were all united by those feelings and emotions. So, yeah, you see, hockey was a huge part of our lives. In addition to ice skating with my mom and attending ice hockey matches with my dad, I also visited my grandma as often as I could. And I can say that I'm lucky to still have two grandmothers, but I can say that I'm really closely attached only to my mom's mom. For me, she's like she's like an angel because she always takes care of everyone in the family. She never screams or shouts, and she always cooks delicious meals with love. And at the same time, she never expects anything in return. She doesn't ask stupid or inappropriate questions like many grandmas do. She always smiles and she's always willing to spend time with you. And when I visited her this time, she cooked traditional Belarusian dishes for me, like potato pancakes with meat and sour cream, of course. And we talked about life. I told her about our life in Poland and showed her some pictures. She shared stories from her youth, and I can say that it's crazy how different my life is from my grandma's life because she has been living all her life in one city, while I've already lived in six different countries. And my grandma supports stability. And at the same time, I'm a risky person who always finds ways to escape my comfort zone. But at the same time, we are so similar because we both love our families. We find happiness in simple things, and we both try to be useful to people and to make this world a better and kinder place. So, yeah, this is a short and very brief update on the time I spent in Belarus. To be honest, if I told you about all the activities I had during this time in details, it would take me more than 10 hours because this time was really intense. And even though I spent 3 weeks in my hometown, I stayed only one day at home when I had those painful symptoms from the health issue that I've mentioned earlier. But the rest of the time, I was somewhere. I was going to a hairdresser, to an osteopath. I visited an orchestra's concert in Minsk. I met with my little cousins. I went to my uncle's birthday party. I met with my classmate and his girlfriend, and I also stayed overnight at my student's place, and I did many, many other things. You know, there is a phrase in Russian that says something like, everything that happens is for the best. In English, there is a similar phrase like, every cloud has a silver lining. In my case, even though I had misfortune with my health, thanks to that, I was able to spend some time in Belarus with my loved ones. And I didn't have such an opportunity for the last 5 years, and I have no idea when it will happen again. So, yeah, it's definitely all for the best. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me today and for listening to this episode till the end. I invite you to follow me on Instagram and on Telegram, where I share more about my life as well as useful English vocabulary and language learning tips. You can find the links in the description of this episode. And please don't forget to follow this podcast if you would like to keep improving your listening skills. Stay tuned, have a lovely day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.